So what we're doing now is we are going to build a box for our Raspberry Pi, but we need to be able to run the monitor from the Raspberry Pi, the cable that goes from the Raspberry Pi up to the monitor in some way that doesn't have a great big cable that we got to deal with. And so what we're going to be doing in this video is actually making a new cable. Now, you'll notice I have a small HDMI adapter, and the parts list will be at the top of the project page. But we've got a small HDMI adapter, and then we also have a larger regular style HDMI adapter. You'll also notice there's no cable. So what you end up with, if we get up here and try to look at this PCB, and the PCB is a printed circuit board that we're actually using to connect everything, but you'll notice that there are little tabs or little indentations that you can see that go up and down this card. And so what's happening is you see all of the pins that go across the card here, and so we got to have some way to connect the pins that come off of the HDMI adapter and go over here to the back of the card to this ribbon cable adapter, and I'm going to show you the ribbon cable here in just a second. And so what happens is they print this circuit board. That's why it's called a printed circuit board. They print this PCB with little channels. They're like, just think of them as little wires that run from this pin on this side of that HDMI plug, and they run across here, and they go either on the top. Some of them are printed on the back. So we have places on both sides of the card that connect one pin here to one pin here. So we have our HDMI adapter, and then we've got the little pins, the little legs that you see here on the ribbon cable adapter. And that's the same way on both of these adapters. You can see here you've got the little channels that run from this end to that end. There's circuit board things on both sides. And so all we're doing literally is connecting each HDMI adapter pin to a pin over here on the ribbon cable. So let's take a look at how we actually connect the ribbon cable. So what we're going to do is find the ribbon cable. Here it is. So this is a ribbon cable, and if you take a look at the ribbon cable, you'll notice that on one side you've actually got pins. They're like little wires that run out, and they look kind of like the pins that are over there on the circuit board itself. So we have these wires that run through. If you flip this thing over, you can actually see, if you look really carefully, you can see the lines that run this way on this particular ribbon cable. And those lines are the wires that are running through from each one of these pins up here. So we have the pins on the end of the wire, and just think there's just little tiny little wires that run through that ribbon cable from one end to the other. So on both ends of the cable we have these pins. And so what we're going to be doing is connecting our HDMI adapters plugs to these ribbon cables. Now to do that, if you take a look at the HDMI plug itself, on the ribbon cable side there are little tabs here. And so you can see a little tab on this side, and then there's one over there. So we're going to take our fingernail and we're just going to pry those things off. And you want to be careful, because all you're doing is pulling it out a little bit. So we're just going to stick our fingernail in there, pry that side out, and that side out. And so you can see there's just a little bit more of a gap now than there was before. And so doing this, what we're going to do is we're going to take our ribbon cable, and you'll notice that one side of the ribbon cable has a cover on it, and then the other side of it is the open pins, the open wires that we're trying to connect to. We want these open pins up in this particular case because we're going to be sliding this cable into position. So you'll notice that it's here. We're just going to stick it right on top of the plastic piece and under our connector piece. And we're just going to slide that up in there until it goes up into the connector. So now we have the cable in. We've got to hold it just a little bit, and then we're going to push the edges of this back toward the white piece. So we're pushing that plastic piece that we pulled out, we're pushing it back up so that everything is all nice and snug back against that. And what happens is when we do that, it connects it so that it won't pull out. So it's part of that plug now. So now we're going to flip it around. We're going to take our bigger HDMI adapter. We're going to flip it over here. We're going to take our fingernail. We're going to pull this out. So they just slide out just a little bit, not very much. So we're going to get those slid out. We're going to take the wires up. We're going to slide them into the position here. And this connector, I don't know how well you'll be able to see this, but this connector is not pulled all the way out over here, so it won't slide in. So we're going to pull that out and make sure both sides are pulled out. And then we're going to take our wires up and we're going to slide them in until they slide in. And then we're going to take our fingernails and we're going to push the edges of this cable back up so that they're nice and snug. You got to kind of work your way from side to side, get those pushed back in. And so now what we have is we've got a nice short flat ribbon cable that we're going to be using to connect the monitor to the Raspberry Pi. So now let's take a look at how we connect the monitor itself. So when this monitor comes in, if you're using this particular model, I've still got the plastic sheet on here covering the screen so that we don't scratch it up until we get it in the box that we're going to be creating. But to connect this thing, you'll notice that there is an HDMI, a connector on here, so a ribbon connector. It's similar to the one that we installed with the cable itself. It's a ribbon cable, and this ribbon cable goes between here and the controller card. So this is the controller card that actually makes the monitor work. And also there's a ribbon cable. So first we're going to connect the ribbon cable here. So we installed this ribbon cable to the monitor itself. That ribbon cable jumps over here to the controller board. Now you'll notice that on this particular one, the locking mechanism is back here on the back instead of on the front like it was on the one that we did earlier. And so this ribbon cable, you'll notice the pins are down instead of up. So you'll have to look inside of each connector and see where you see the little. So now let's take a look at how we connect the monitor itself. So when this monitor comes in, if you're using this particular model, I've still got the plastic sheet on here covering the screen so that we don't scratch it up until we get it in the box that we're going to be creating. But to connect this thing, you'll notice that there is an HDMI, a connector on here, so a ribbon connector. It's similar to the one that we installed with the cable itself. It's a ribbon cable, and this ribbon cable goes between here and the controller card. So this is the controller card that actually makes the monitor work. And also there's a ribbon cable. So first we're going to connect the ribbon cable here. So we installed this ribbon cable to the monitor itself. That ribbon cable jumps over here to the controller board. Now you'll notice that on this particular one, the locking mechanism is back here on the back instead of on the front like it was on the one that we did earlier. And so this ribbon cable, you'll notice the pins are down instead of up. So you'll have to look inside of each connector and see where you see the little pins to figure out whether or not it goes up or down. Now this connector here actually is the metal connector on the back here is actually part of the ribbon cable. So it's pretty easy to tell which end plugs into what, because this is the only end that'll plug into the monitor. So just be very careful when you're plugging it in, make sure it snaps into place, and take your time so that you don't actually break anything. This one goes with the pins down, and then you push. So the way that this particular one works is you pull this pin back away from the plug in this way, slide the cable in, and then push it back forward to lock that one. And then over here we have one more ribbon cable that you install onto the board, and it actually has your power and menu and next and all that stuff on it. So this particular board is what controls the monitor, turn it on and off and that kind of thing. So you connect that up, and then you'll notice here we have a power plug, which is just a USB micro power plug, and then you've got your HDMI plug that we just wired up with the ribbon cable. So that ribbon cable, this is the big end that we had put on the ribbon cable. It plugs directly into the monitor. Get this guy pushed back here out of the way for a moment. And then we have the Raspberry Pi itself that has the mini HDMI plug that comes into here that we actually use to plug the HDMI cable in on this end. So the only thing going between the two is this nice thin ribbon cable that'll be much easier to route inside of our box than what we were looking at before.